Good morning, good afternoon, happy Saturday, wherever you are. Welcome to another edition of Fins Talk today here on FTSN. I'm Bobby Fins Talk, joined by Real Talk Fin Talk host Steve Molloy, post-game, pre-game, and overtime co-host FinStanza, and host of the Dive Bar podcast, Bobby Schaus. What's up, Bobby? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, fellas. It's nice to be here. The intro is nice. I guess I never seen it because I come in after I get the notification, but the intro is cool because it's like a highlight / hype, but it's also like a sitcom from the 90s.
That's right.
Kind of like Family Matters meets Dolphins highlights and moments with fans.
That's right, brother. I love it. It gives me that vibe. I almost wore, and I may wear it for the wrestling show later this afternoon, or I'll wear it tomorrow morning on East Tetry Boys, but my Golden Girls shirt, because I'm straight up old school, dude. I have a Golden Girls shirt. I have no shame in that. You know, nice. Those girls were legit back in the day. But happy to be here. Obviously, we have plenty to talk about, especially if you're a Dolphins fan. It's never boring being a Dolphins fan or a Dolphins content creator because you got a lot to talk about always. But of course, big game on Monday night, the Dolphins versus the Jets. Both teams 0-4 in Miami. We're wearing the rivalry uniforms, which is exciting for some, right? That's exciting, a new uniform to see. And hopefully Miami may get their first win. You know, we have a lot of shows. We had the Fins Faithful podcast with George and Jason previewing it. Curtis was on with George earlier this morning, so shout out to them. Of course, you got Adrian of the Rainy Day podcast. He was on earlier as well. Everyone talking Dolphins versus Jets. We will touch on that, but we'll be on more, of course, Monday night to talk about the Dolphins versus the Jets. Today, we're talking about what if. Whether you're on Real Talk, Fins Talk, or post-game, pre-game, or the Dive Bar, or Fins Talk today, there's this talk that's leaking in because Miami is 0-3, possibly 0-4. You know, every time Miami loses a game, or we're previewing it, if Miami loses a game, he may get fired. Could the coach get fired? So everyone keeps bringing that up. So I said, why don't we talk about that today? What are the next steps? What if he got fired? What if Coach Mike McDaniel gets fired either now, or after the Jets game, or some point in the season? Where do we go from here? You know, where does Miami turn? And I would love to get this amazing crew's thought process on this, because I know we've all thought about it. Like, what type of coach would we want? And I'm not gonna lie, there is one coach, and I'm so glad that Bobby was able to join us today, because this is one guy who got my attention, Bobby. And I saw him, and first up, because one of the guys, like, I'll just spoil it here because I think Evan already knows this. I want a veteran coach. I want a guy who's been there before. I don't care what he's done or who he is. I'm willing to hear him out or hear this thing out, no matter who it is. But if it is a rookie coach, my only thing will be like, okay, if he's a rookie, he has to be a guy who's played before in the NFL. I want a former NFL player. And there's one guy on the Detroit Lions. He's their offensive line coach and running game coordinator. I know that's a bad word, but he kept him. And he former offensive line guy. But I was like, I have to watch him talk because I have to see. And I was like, holy, that sounds like Bobby. That's the legit Bobby's doppelganger, dude. So we're gonna bring him up. I'm telling you, you're gonna love him. I think Bobby's gonna like him once he sees him. But anyway, before we get rolling here, let's see who's in the house. We got Daniel in the house. Great to see him. Osric Florida in the house. Appreciate you. Nightmare. Oh, I know it. I hate these negative shows. It's not negative. It's positive. We're looking towards the future if McDaniel gets let go. McDaniel is our head coach for the Miami Dolphins. We're cheering for him to win. But what if, Daniel, he gets let go? Where would you go from there? What type of coach would you go after? Would you go after another rookie coach, another run game coordinator? Would you, and would you stick? That's the other question. Would you stick with him? Would you just say, you know what? It's not on him. We got to change the quarterback, or we got to change Chris Greer and stick with. We're going to have all that conversation. Well, we're going to have all those conversations. But anywho, we'll roll right into us. And Evan disappeared. Bring him back. Let's get rolling here. Now, Mike McDaniel right now on the season in his career. He's 28-26. He had a great start to his career with Miami. I mean, he was hyped. He got the fans hyped. People say, Tua's regressed and McDaniel, Tua cannot succeed with McDaniel as his head coach. But you cannot ignore that McDaniel, what he did do for Tua was unlock his confidence. He brought that out of him. And so much so now that some people don't like it. I mean, it's just what it is. So, you look at, of course, the previous head coaches. Brian Flores, he's 24-25. Adam Gase, 23-25. Dan Campbell don't count. He was interim for Joe Philbin. But what's the common denominator right there? All first-time head coaches.
I thought you were going to say Chris Greer.
Oh, that too. There you go. There you go. So, I know if I go with Evan with the first part of this, it's going to go for a little bit. So I'll leave him probably towards the end. But so I'm going to go with Steve and Bobby. You can follow up right there. Steve, from the start of this, where there was a lot of there was a big part of the fan base that was really into hiring McDaniel. He got hired. He fired everybody up. We all got hyped. We were like, hey, we saw Tua got hyped. We saw the first start of it. Dolphins traded for Tyreek. We were riding high, and then it went. So, what happened to Mike McDaniel, in your opinion? Is it Chris Greer? Was it did he self-destruct? What happened? And can you see him getting out of the hole that he's in?
Well, and I'm with you. I was all for getting Mike McDaniel as the head coach. I was all hyped too. I remember that first show we did. It was in August, I believe it was. It was a preview of my Real Talk FinStalk show, and we had a panel prior to the premiere show of mine, and I said, man, I really like this Mike McDaniel. He's putting together and organizing a really good coaching staff. And so I was all hyped. And for the most part, when he first got hired, look, he got hired with conditions, right? He had one of the main conditions was Tua Tagovailoa. And plus the defensive coach, it was
Boyer.
what was it? Yeah, Boyer at the time. So those were some of the conditions that he was. He was a new coach. He's rookie. He's green. Never had any head coaching experience, and never really had any offensive coordinator, experience. He was a run game coordinator. He only got a title there in San Francisco. That his buddy Shanahan gave him a title of offensive coordinator, but hey, who called the shots? Mike Shanahan, right? So he called the plays. So he really didn't have any experience, but he came here and he did his best. I mean, he had a decent roster when he got here, right? He had some talent. I mean, they got Tyreek, they had Armstead, they had a few guys across the O-line. So he had some talent here, and he made do with what they had. It was all new system for the organization, all new system for other teams, right? They never seen this system before. Mike McDaniel added a few little of his own little wrinkles and stuff like that into the West Coast offense, or you want to call it Shanahan system, whatever. It's a West Coast offense, wide zone, right? And so teams were new to seeing this. All defenses, they didn't have the blueprint for this yet. And plus, as you said, he brought the best out in Tua, and he did. What he did basically is, and he even mentioned it himself, Mike McDaniel. They went over 700 plays or something like that, and basically what he did was he picked out what plays and what type of system Tua was best in, and that's what he did. He basically put all the stuff Tua was bad at, right, his weaknesses and limitations, put him in a box, and then he brought out the good, stuff and placed it on the table and said, all right, we're going to do this. And it worked. It worked for the most part for a while, until finally defenses, coordinators, right after that Denver Broncos game, that's when everything started, going downhill from there, right? Little by little started, this offense started getting, I don't know if you say it's figured out. I would just say that defenses know what Tua's limitations are. And that's what they do. They make him or force him to do what he doesn't do best, right? And what he does best, they've shut it down, right? And That's what's happening now. I don't like Mike McDaniel as a head coach. I don't. I don't like. I don't think he's holds his players accountable. I think he protects, which every coach is going to do. But he protects Tua too much, man. He makes so many excuses for him, and then that rubs off on Tua. Then Tua feels like he's it. He's the guy, And then plus, show me the money is where it all started. His downfall too, and So that's what I think. I think Tua's been exposed. I think we're a quarterback away. I think Mike McDaniel is a very good play caller. I mean, very good play designer.
Yeah.
And he makes some good calls at times. I think that's something he can work on. Time management is terrible. Getting the plays in there on time, stuff like that. This has gone on 4 years now, and we're still doing the same stuff, right?
Steve, let me ask you, because you said, let me tag in here for a second, because you just said we're a quarterback away, So
Right.
I want to ask you this, because Daniel says, which is fair, and someone said, forgive me because I closed the comments, but I just want to make sure I get the right name here. Yeah. Nightmare 74 says, I want Bruce Arians. Okay, great. Good name throw out there, name being thrown out there. Daniel says, I would stick with McDaniel. So, question for Daniel, question for you, because you say QB away.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to stick with McDaniel, but change Tua? Would that make a difference for you?
Yeah, I'd be willing to stick with McDaniel, even with all those flaws that I just mentioned. That I think, those time management, accountability, and stuff like that. And Bobby Shaw said it. Winning changes everything, right? Changes the culture, changes, it just changes everything. It makes everything better. All these little flaws and things like that. If you're winning, people are they're gonna overlook those flaws, right? Because we're winning. But I think I'd give him a shot, with another quarterback. Sure, why not? He brought the best out in Tua for a little while, right? And that's where I think Mike McDaniel is limited. He's limited. And our friend Greg Mean from FinStanza Sports Network said this. He started off with a playbook like this, but now because of the limitations of Tua, it's down to here. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the same type of play calls and things like that. You're saying, why are they running the same play? Blah, blah, blah. Because Tua is limited. He's limited in mobility. He's limited in his arm. He can't throw outside the numbers. He can, but it's not consistent. That's not his forte. And that's what teams do is they get him to throw outside the numbers, right? And they clog up the middle. So he's forced to throw outside the numbers. And a simple example is last week when he threw it in the middle and it got intercepted. People already know where his favorite, spot is to throw on the field, And but yeah, I would definitely give Mike McDaniel another shot with another quarterback.
All right.
Give him a year. See what he can do. See if it changes. If it doesn't, say Levy.
So there you go. So Bobby, first off, shout out to Bobby and the Dive Bar crew. You guys put out an amazing show. You've had former players on, current players on. So you have you might have a different view of this. So I'm very interested to hear your point of view from just interacting with players, interacting with people within the organization, but also as a fan on the outside. Where do you stand on Mike McDaniel? Where did you see the downfall? And are you at the point where it's like, hey, if they lose this next game or they lose whatever, yes, I could see a change, and this is where and this is why. Where did the fall happen with Mike McDaniel?
Yeah, I think fall is a weird word because it's just kind of like it was slow, so it wasn't so sudden. It's more like, all right, so do I see a change? Here's my issue. I thought after the second loss of the season, we lost to the Patriots. I'm like, okay, this is abysmal. Like, we're gonna go up to Buffalo, we're gonna get crushed, and that will be a great time to fire McDaniel. We'll have 10 days to figure something out. But here's where the issue came in, and now here's where all the question marks come. McDaniel probably had the best game plan we've seen in 14 months for that Buffalo game. FinStanza disagrees, but I've noticed he disagrees with everything. He did. He really did. Without the bonehead interception at the end, that was an incredible game plan, especially considering I think we do now realize he is dealing with a limited playbook. I think given that he has to call a game 20 yards, within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage, I think McDaniel really is doing all he can. Now, we will see who is the culprit or not as this season progresses. But I will say the Buffalo game was an indictment to Tua, not McDaniel. And I really think it also showed that the players are still playing for McDaniel because the team did come out and play. I think everybody thought we were going up to Buffalo and that was going to be the end of this whole deal. Like it was going to be embarrassing. It normally is, but the team showed up. And the defense hasn't been here most of the year, but the second half, they did play really good. And if it wasn't for the roughing the punter, I think we see a different game because we had all the momentum. It was 21-21. We were going to get the ball back. We're coming off like 2 straight 3-and-outs, I believe. And I think that really changed the game. And it also forced our hand. Now, that is where you can go. Was it Tua? Was it McDaniel? We probably should have ran the ball. And I even say that them changing it from 3rd and short to giving us the first down might have cost us the game. Because I think if it's still 3rd and inches, we run the ball there, which we probably should have started run. It's 1st and 10. We probably should have ran the ball anyways. So I am open for a debate on that one. McDaniel probably should have just kept it on the ground. It was working. I was happy to see more Ollie Gordon. I think the thing is, too, I've pointed out is we haven't been able to see what this team actually wants to look like this year because we've been playing from behind all season. Like we haven't been able to show a true game plan because we're playing from behind. So it was nice once it was 21-21 to see, well, this team don't look half bad. The defense is settled in. I like what I'm seeing. The offense is running the ball. It's a balanced attack. They're doing great. So I really would like to get a 10-point lead against the Jets and see, can you sick the dogs on the quarterback? Can you kind of get more exotic? Does it look different? And I think we need to see that. As far as that goes, though, I think I was in the boat that we're going to fire McDaniel after the Bills game because I thought we were going to get crushed. But in turn, I think McDaniel actually earned some time. I think that he pushed that down the road a little bit. And it was a loss, which is weird, but I think that's what happened. I really think he bought himself some time with the Buffalo performance, as crazy as that sounds. But with that said, you go and lose to the Jets, you turn around and lose to a Panthers team or something like that. I think we're right back in that conversation. And to me, it's clean house because it's not an indictment to anybody but everybody. You can't keep running it back or keeping one piece. I need a new start. So like to me, it's not like, can McDaniel be not the problem? Maybe it is Tua. Maybe he's got the most out of Tua and we're not giving that enough credit, but he's limited and he's done what he can with it. And maybe that is the case. Like Steve said, I could probably be sold on McDaniel again if you have an aggressive plan to go get a true guy. Like you go get your guy, give McDaniel a chance. Let's see it. Okay, I could be sold into that. I think that they kind of, I don't know if they got figured out so much as that Mike McDaniel just hasn't had another wrinkle. So the cheat motion thing was the peak of McDaniel. And he came out with that and it was like, whoa, this guy's a maniac, right? This was fun, McDaniel, right? Quirky, awesome press conferences. This guy's a mad genius. Cheat motion. Chargers never had a chance. Whooping the Broncos. Deciding to pass on the field goal and not break the record because we think we're going to do it again the next week, So I think they just got figured out and there hasn't been another wrinkle. And that might have been, you could say that's a lack of game planning or willing to adjust or having another wrinkle on McDaniel. Or you could say that was just a final curveball he had to make Tua more than he was. That was his last attempt to do whatever. And it got Tua the new contract. It got us the number 1 offense in football. Tua led the league in passing. It did a lot of things. But since then, people have realized, okay, we're not going to give Tyreek and Waddle single coverage on the outside. We'll go too high. And Tua can't throw you out of too high. So that's that. And I think they need to run the ball, force a team. You have to come down. You have to get out of too high. That's why we need to run the ball. We need to force teams to have to bring us safety down. And I've said, I don't think Waller's going to be this Jonnu Smith impact, but I do believe Waller is the first tight end in a long time you at least have to respect and account for. So I'm hoping maybe you grab another linebacker or get a safety that has to come up, put a body and keep up with Waller. Even if Waller never catches the ball, if he gets us back to single high, that's a win. if it opens up the deep game, the long game, we get more shots because Waller's now gaining attention in the middle, getting those guys' eyes. Even if the safety's not coming down, he's going to be watching Waller. I think that's a win too. And then, yeah, that's pretty much where I stand right now. I think there's a lot of question marks. Unfortunately, there's not a clear answer. I think we're going to get that as time goes on. But it's kind of weird how we're drastic, right? Us Dolphins fans. And like 2 weeks ago, like I said, I'm willing to fire McDaniel. Now it's like, maybe this guy has got his hands tied. Maybe McDaniel isn't the problem. He made, chicken noodle soup out of shit. And we didn't realize it. And now we're realizing it. And it's like, oh, this is shit. This kind of tastes like shit. Okay. I see. The aftertaste, I figured it out. So I am, it's crazy because once again, I realize this come Tuesday, I'm going to be sitting here going, you fire that son of a bitch. You fire him now. But right now it's like, I don't know, man. That was a hell of a game plan, in my opinion. And it's not that it was like within our system. Like, we do have limitations. We do have restrictions. So yes, there's things you could have said you wanted to see, but can we do that? Probably not. So within our restrictions and within our limitations, especially after two piss poor performances week 1 and 2, going into Buffalo on prime time, I thought that was an incredible game plan. And I think it would have been a victory if not for a couple bonehead things at the very end. So that's kind of where I'm at. Not a clear-cut answer, but a lot to digest right now.
No, and I think just like Steve, I think you were going at different points, but I think you were hitting the head on most of them. And I think you kind of went in the same direction as well, because it is true, right? 0-2, 0-3, it's like, and Lou is in the comments, and he said it too. It's like, hey, if they lose Monday night, that's it. You lost, 3 within the division. I understand that, but also fair enough too. It's like, that Buffalo game, the way they played their asses off, and it looked like, hey, they showed some life, even though at the end it cost them, and there were some hiccups. But you're right. It may have bought him a little bit of time, but he loses to the Jets. He loses to Carolina. Time's about to run out. Does he inject some life back into his veins? Does he pump the life support if he says, okay, you know what? Hey, we just lost to the Jets. We're gonna make a drastic change. I'm changing the QB. I'm gonna go. I see people throwing it. Let's throw in Quinn Ewers in here or whatever. Could that push his life support further down the line? Is it worth it? There's a lot of that in there, but I think you hit a lot of nails on the head. Evan, you're listening to all this, and I know you're one of the biggest Mike McDaniel fans out there. Does anything that Steve and Bobby's brought up, has it changed your mind? Do you know what you've talked plenty about where McDaniel has fallen off as the head coach of the Dolphins in his short reign here. But do you see like where there's an avenue where he could continue as coach? Because you did bring up on a post game that Tua could possibly continue as quarterback with another coach, but could McDaniel continue as a coach or possibly find success with a different quarterback?
Did you say something? I wasn't paying attention.
Don't be an ass. Don't be an ass.
Did something happen? What happened the last 23 minutes? I don't remember. That's Mike McDaniel. Okay. But I appreciate everybody. I actually was patient for 23 minutes. That was pretty amazing. That was long-winded answers. They sounded like me a little bit. We're talking about how Steve, let's just retract. I don't want to go long because there's a lot of topics. But Steve talked about giving Mike McDaniel another chance. Well, you knew when Tua started to get injured, where his concussions only started in the Mike McDaniel era. He wasn't getting injured with Brian Flores. Brian Flores and different OCs had different game plan for him, where actually he was more mobile in the Flores era than he ever has been in McDaniel era. The guy can't move, can't run, even before the concussions. He never allowed him to move in and outside the pocket. He had Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater did what he could, but anytime Teddy Bridgewater came in, no success. It's like he only built a game plan for Tua. Then Skylar Thompson experiment for 3 years. That was an utter mitigated disaster. Mike White was my choice for quarterback. It was now Zach Wilson. So for me, Mike McDaniel, it doesn't matter what quarterback you put in. He was never interviewed for any other head coaching job except us, and he was the only guy who was interested in accepting a job where the defensive coordinator was there, and the quarterback was there, and the GM was there, etc. So for me, Mike McDaniel at the beginning, he's had if you look at the records, he's 28-27 overall, but let's just take the regular season. He has a .519 winning percentage, but if you look at the other coaches, he at the beginning probably had in his first year, 7 or 8 Pro Bowlers? You couldn't count more than 1 Pro Bowler max for any year that Philbin, Campbell, Gase, or Flores ever had on their team, period. They didn't have any Pro Bowlers on their team. Maybe Xavier at one point, Rashard Jones at one point, or maybe at the end of Jason Taylor. I'm trying to look through the years. Cameron Wake. But no, Mike McDaniel has done the best that he could. But it's sort of like a show that you watch. First season was great. Second season, the sequel was like Back to the Future, right? Back to the Future. First one was good. Second one was amazing. Now it's 2023. Third one, sort of faltered. Now there's no Back to the Future 4. Now, that was an amazing trilogy. Mike McDaniel's trilogy should have ended at 3 because, unfortunately, he's maximized Tua. But like I once told you, and I've told you this many times, Bobby and Steve, is I think Tua's not good for McDaniel, but McDaniel's not good for Tua. And the problem is, if Mike McDaniel felt he got the most out of Tua in the Buffalo game, why are you putting it in your QB's hands? Also, Mike McDaniel could have said to Greer and could have said to Ross, I want Tua to play on his 5th-year option. I'm not ready to have him as my quarterback for the rest of the for the next 4 or 5 years. There was no pressure. Mike McDaniel made that contract happen. He's had Tyreek Hill, he's had Jalen Waddle, he's had Teron Armstead, he's had also listen to what people like Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's out of Miami because of Mike McDaniel. Right? Calais Campbell's out of Miami because of Mike McDaniel. The veterans don't want to be around this guy. And when you listen to what he has to say, it's not even about the winning or the losing. Even before the season even started, you listen to his answers and you get lost. You forget what the question was. You don't remember what the question was. He doesn't answer the question. And also, the key thing that really bothers me about Mike McDaniel, he doesn't look at you when you speak. Like right now, I'm looking at all 4 of you. When he gets asked a question at the podium, he doesn't look at you. He looks down, then he looks up at the end of the question, then moves on. Then he hears the question, looks down again, because he can't make eye contact with people anymore because he's at a loss. This is too big for his britches. He's the guy who needs to be in the background. He can't be at the foreground because, as you can see throughout the game, he's always in his play call sheet. And he hasn't earned the right to be in his play call sheet. Because, and just FYI, last season, 2 years ago, Bobby and Steve, 2 seasons ago when they lost the Super Bowl, Nick Sirianni had the play call sheet in his hand. You know what the biggest difference between the last year when they won the Super Bowl and the season before? Bye-bye play call sheet. He became a head coach. He completely grew as a head coach in his second year. Now look at them this year. They were down and out last game. Comeback. When the Dolphins fall behind in a football game, game's over. And let's just be clear about the game plan for the Buffalo game. I disagree with you, Bobby, from the perspective of Greg, who said it on Fin's TV Plus on Thursday and also said it with me and Steve. You go into Buffalo, you better put up 35 points to win those football games. That's the only way you're going to win. 21 points in a game heading into the 4th quarter, you're not beating Buffalo. You're never going to beat Josh Allen scoring 21 points in a game. And he never adapted to that. If he had the running game was working, got away from it. The little chuck downs, and also we're not stupid. If we're seeing it, he should be seeing it. Tua is scared out of his mind because that right side of the offensive line is giving him literally no time. Even when the line isn't collapsing, Tua runs away. Tua runs 10 yards back before he even considers making a throw because he's afraid. Tua's playing fearful. Tua's playing afraid, but also Tua's not being held accountable for his actions. And that's not Darrell Bevel's job. That's not on. I put the regression not just on Tua, but I put on McDaniel because McDaniel owns the play call sheet. He owns the quarterback. He owns the contract that they gave him. So for me, Mike McDaniel might be a nice guy. I believe he will be a second coming in another location. Go look at Brian Flores right now. Everyone was knocking Brian Flores down. You know how good that defense is in Minnesota. You know good that Mike McDaniel is not meant to be a head coach of a team that is on the cusp of potentially winning. Mike McDaniel needs an expansion team. He needs a team where he can build it from the ground up and know that he's not going to get fired. Unfortunately, he's in year 4. So if you let me compare it to the Jets game coming up, Aaron Glenn's 0-3, but he's in game 4. Unless he goes 0-17, he won't lose a job. Mike McDaniel's in year 4. And unfortunately, like I told you, Bobby, he's tied to Greer, he's tied to Tua. And unfortunately, yes, he might be calling the best game plan he could, but like Tua, He has regressed for the last 3 seasons. How is a team that has not won a playoff game in 25 years, where the next team I think is 8 years later or 4 or 5 years later? You can't be in the moment where we're still developing. We're still trying to figure it out. We're going to score 21 points a game. Mike McDaniel is not the right head coach to get you out of this, because he lets the players do whatever they want. He just lets them free wheel, and he doesn't have any control over that locker room. Listen to what Weaver had to say. You'll never hear McDaniel say what he said. Did you hear what Anthony Weaver had to say yesterday? That violence is the answer, and how mad, and he took his defense to task. Mike McDaniel never takes anyone to task. Mike McDaniel, to us, throws 3 consecutive interceptions on 3 consecutive games at the worst moments of the game. I've never seen Mike McDaniel walk up to Tua. Not once. Did you see a last game between for Travis Kelce and Andy Reid? You're talking about an all-pro future Hall of Famer, an all-pro coach yelling at each other on the sideline. Tom Brady, bad thing, slamming his thing. Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Don Shula, Jimmy Johnson. We have Mike McDaniel, who's afraid to embarrass Tua in public. Can you please embarrass him in public, please? Take him to task. Throw your headset down. Get mad. This guy does not have any sense of caring about whether he loses his job tomorrow. He doesn't show it. He doesn't show it. And until he actually shows some vigor and some anger and some frustration, he's not the head coach of this football team. He's a guy. There is no leader on that sideline right now. If you're lost, if you're a struggling offensive lineman or struggling, it doesn't matter what. A head coach is supposed to go to any player on the team, from the kicker to the long snapper to the center, and go talk to their coach. He never engages with players during the course of a game. It's almost like he should be in the booth and bring down the coordinator down, because he's not doing anything on the sideline except looking at his play call sheet and talking. He doesn't engage with anybody. That's not a head coach. I'm sorry. He's not a head coach.
So let's just say, and guys, you know how it is. Feel free if you want to tag in. If you want to respond, you respond. Don't wait on me, or don't have, you're good to go. But moving on, so let's say Miami loses to the Jets, right? And I'm going to shout out everyone in the comments there: Lou, Ray, Raphael, Only the Real Survive. Everyone, forgive me if I'm missing anybody here, but everyone in the comments, appreciate you guys all commenting. Everyone watching right now, we appreciate you wherever you're watching from, whether you're watching through X, Facebook, YouTube, FTSN Extra, Twitch. Appreciate you all. If you're watching anywhere other than YouTube, hop on over here to FinStalk Sports Network, hit that like and subscribe button. And when you're done with that after the show, go over to the dive bar if you haven't already. If you haven't, you're crazy, and go subscribe there as well. But shout out to everybody in the comments. I love the passion. I love the back and forth. Keep it coming. I've seen Bruce Arians' name pop in there. I've seen Stick with McDaniel in there. Throw some names out there. Is there any names that you guys go, man, if this would be a coach I'd like to look at? If this is a coach I would be interested in. Throw that in there. We'd love to see those and react as they come in, or at the end, we'll react quick. But let's say, worst of worst, lose to the Jets, lose to Carolina, whether it's for whatever. Miami decides to make a change within the season. They promote from within to get an interim coach. Who would you prefer to be the interim coach? And Evan, I'll start with you, but who would you like to see become? Because before it was, before last season, the shortest was Anthony Weaver. Are you still there? It was like, give Anthony Weaver a shot. Let him be the interim coach.
If it's internal right now,
it's the interim coach. Interim
coach. If it has to be within, it is Weaver. I wasn't Weaver last week. It was Weaver yesterday. He is auditioning for the interim head coach the way he sounded yesterday. The man was almost in tears. He's mad at himself. He's frustrated. He has much less to work with on the defense than anybody. The front seven, like I've said, losing Calais Campbell and Jalen Ramsey is basically giving him one arm and one leg, and he's missing the other side of his body. I watch this tomorrow on Monday night. The defense will not be much better than the offense. They'll start to play a little bit better. He's showing passion. That I don't see passion from anybody else. When you see Darrell Bevel speak or Frank Smith speak, you need an angry guy. And like I said, he looks like a head coach. And that's why that's why they hired Dan Campbell after Joe Philbin, because when you looked on the sideline, and I actually took a look at the guy that you were recommending as the O-line coach from Detroit, he looked like a head coach. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry to tell you this. The look of a head coach kind of matters, when you see Dan Quinn on the sideline, looks like a head coach. The look actually makes a difference. So for me, I would give Weaver a shot because even if he's not here next year, at least you get to find out whether or not he is a potential head coach. If you leave him on the sideline and go put in Bevel, who's actually just as much, which is a 2 a year, and then you have Frank Smith. Who got, by the way, 2 a year. I think Frank Smith cleans the toilets because I've never actually seen him on the sideline. I actually it's the easiest job in football because you don't know what he does. Because Butchberry handles the O-line, Darrell Bevel handles the quarterback, Mike McDaniel handles the play calling. So what does Frank Smith do? I wonder why. So I wonder what. So for me, it would have to be Weaver because I'd like to actually audition him to see whether or not he is a potential head coach or not.
All right. And Bobby, you said you would like to respond to the game plan that Evan brought up a little earlier. So go right ahead and then what do you think? Who do you think should be the next guy if it has to be one of these guys as an interim coach?
Yeah. So first off, I mean, to each their own. But here's what I'll say about the game plan. As I said earlier, you're right about we need to score more points. But it was 21-21. We were headed to go score 28 points. We tried to score 28 twice. You can either blame Sealer or Tua for that. So we would have scored 28 and we would have won the ball game without those two things. Then I'll say this. I actually think that train of thought that you got to go just Buffalo to score 35 is why no one fucking beats Buffalo. You have to keep Josh Allen off the field. You think you're going to get in a shootout with Josh Allen? You get your heart broke every time. No, we needed death by 1,000 cuts. We had death by 1,000 cuts. We had 13, 14 play drives that ended in touchdowns. That's how you beat playoff teams. So I actually think that's a train of thought that we're stuck in because that's what we think we want to see. But reality is we need to get back to the other way. We need to get back to physical football. We need to get back to 12 play drives. We need to get back to 10 minutes of possession, letting your defense sit there and drink water and look at the girls in the stands. That's what we need to get back to. And I think so that would be my thing. I think that game plan is in our head because we think we want to see fireworks all the time.
Well,
Go ahead.
Agree with one point. When he had 3 minutes left and he had to burn a timeout for no particular reason.
Yep.
And then if he would have continued to run the ball, same thing in the snow game, instead of he gave the ball to Tua on first down, instead of running the ball and killing the clock and scoring at the end, the way he was trending, he was trying to score fast.
Yeah.
Then you would have left time for Allen coming back down that field. Whether we scored on that, even after the Sealer error, Tua had the chance to come back and tie that game. The way McDaniel was play calling with 3 minutes left, he was giving the ball back to Josh Allen, which was not the game. It should not have been the game plan. Tua on first, no matter what with Tua, you should never ever, unless it's the beginning of the game where you're trying to get a score ahead. Should you in a game where the running game is working and the yards you're getting on every draw on every down is better on rushing than it is on passing in that game. Give the ball to Gordon, give the ball to Achane, stop with the throwing on first down. McDaniel on that one play. It was Tua's fault for throwing the interception, but it was on McDaniel. Tua should not have had the ball in his hands. He should not. And also, can I understand something? Maybe you guys can say this and we'll talk. Why are we continuing? What happened to the RPO? Like, why is it doesn't work in the NFL for a guy to be in shotgun every time every time we're running the ball? Every time we run the ball, they know which side we're. Greg said this on the show this week with Steve. You know where the guy is running because it's on shotgun, so you know the momentum that Achane and Gordon have. They know where they're running. Like McDaniel's giving it away before we actually hike the ball. So anyway, I understand what you're saying. We had to do, but even McDaniel got away from that. The game plan you wanted him to follow, which he was following for a good portion of the game, he got away from with 3 minutes left. He stopped following it. He gave up.
Well, that's once again because we fell behind. It was 21-21. We gave up
3 minutes. You had 3 minutes and 20 yards. You had 3 minutes and 20 yards. You could run the ball three times and still had a chance to win.
Well, I said earlier that you can debate the fact that third and inches or 1st and 10, it should have been a run play. I don't disagree with that, but it does not excuse a $52 million quarterback for throwing a fucking ball right to a linebacker.
But he's not even a $20 million quarterback. That's the point.
Yeah. Okay. So you're blaming Tua one way or the other. You just don't hear it.
Yeah.
You should be able to trust your guy.
That's right. So Bobby,
100%.
Who would you, if you had to make that decision, who's the guy you're putting up? If McDaniel gets let go, who's the one you're promoting to be your interim coach?
Yeah, and this is where I agree completely with FinStanza. 100%. I think he nailed it. One looks like a coach. Also, if your reason for keeping a guy on or giving Bevel the interim job is because he fits Tua, not interested. That we don't need that again. That was forced on the last guy, did not work. So Weaver, like FinStanza said, at least you'll know. It might blow up. It might be a terrible decision, but you'll know, and you won't let him ride off into the sunset and become a Dan Campbell later. So I'm all for Weaver. Go with the leader of men. Hopefully he gets people in the position to make the right choices under him. But I'm going with Weaver for sure. I agree 100%.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree with both these gentlemen. Weaver, for sure. Yeah, for everything they said. There's nothing else I can follow up with.
People all agree with me for once, Bobby. For once.
Yeah.
So easy enough, Steve. So I'm going to stay with you on this here, and then you'll be the one who everyone has to follow. If you go here, Miami decides obviously to let go of McDaniel. Should they go ahead and just clean house at that point in time? Should Marvin Allen be promoted up, or do you think Chris Grier should finish the season?
If they let go of Mike McDaniel, just go ahead and let Chris Grier finish the season out, and then make that decision at the end of the season. Definitely, I'm not a fan of Chris Grier. I think they should clean house with him, let him go. And I don't think they should promote from within. I think they should get another GM, from somewhere else. I don't want them promoting from within. But I'd wait till the end of the season before we let Chris Grier go.
Bobby?
I think you'd have to promote within if we did it mid-season, which they're not going to do. I think you're going to be looking at a situation where Chris Grier gets moved into a prominent role as a senior advisor. He's now a Parcell type architect. And then you bump up like Champ Kelly or the guy from the Raiders they got this offseason, or, you'll see something like that. Now, ideally, that's not my game plan. I don't want to bring anybody from inside. Like I said, if you're cleaning house, clean house. I guess I can live with Grier as a senior advisor if he's drinking coffee and walking around shaking hands like Marino does. But I need a guy that's going to be able to look at the coach and look at Ross or Chris Grier, even in that case, and go, I know what the hell I'm doing. Get the hell out of my draft room. Like I need somebody that's convicted and feels like that in the building. We need that. And the same with the coach, which we'll get to that. But I need a guy that's convicted and can stand on this is my guy. This is my draft pick. And if it doesn't work, that was on me.
I love it. And I will say, I'm with you. For me, it's, if you're going to fire him at the midpoint of the season, I think Chris Grier is going to get promoted. He'll not promoted, or even if he steps down as GM, he'll be within a role with the Miami Dolphins. I don't see him going anywhere else. That's how they're going to do it. And then whatever. And then maybe you promote Marvin Allen until the end of the season as your interim GM, give him an opportunity to interview for that role, and then maybe look elsewhere out where. Evan, you hear all that. What's your thoughts?
Within the we need to hire. You're going to have to get to the next topic. So I don't mind hiring a rookie GM, but it shouldn't be within. It has to go outside. Go, like we've always talked about, go to a team that has had success, significant playoff success. Go look at Baltimore. Go look at Kansas City. Go look at Philadelphia. Go find the next hotshot general manager, and then let them who have had key decisions in drafting, let them put out their portfolio of what they've accomplished. And I think that should be on the next topic. I think that should be the person who selects that person at the end of the season. I don't think there's a need to fire Grier at this point, because this season is sort of a loss. This is sort of a reassessment season, because I believe that the majority of the key players on this team will be gone next year. So that's what I would do. But like I said, we've talked about it. Bring in a new hotshot GM, but bring in a veteran head coach. That's how you're going to balance it up.
So I'm going to stay with you, Evan, because you're going to bring it up. We've seen the success of doing this certain move, and we've seen the failure of it. The Broncos, they hire John Elway, VP of Football Operations, and he won a Super Bowl. He got Peyton Manning, did that, won a Super Bowl. Miami recently was Carl Peterson, right? Is it Carl Peterson, if I remember correctly? And then Mike Tannenbaum was VP of Football Operations. So if Miami went this route, if they clean house, let's, first off, start with you. Should they hire VP Football Operations? Who should that guy be? We know a lot of people. I've had people tell me Dan Marino, and I got to kind of remind him, been there, done that. Didn't work. He didn't want to stay there. Of course, he's older now, but do we really trust that? So I'd love to hear from you on that. And who would you hire as a VP of football? Because this is not GM. This is the guy who runs the entire organization in place of Stephen Ross and then he hires the GM, he hires the coach, and it goes from there. We had Bill Parcells do that for us. That was the time we actually went to a play. It was a fun year. That was when you hired Tony Sperano, you got Chad Pennington, went to the playoffs, lost, Wildcat season. Should Miami follow that route again? Or do you think, no, just go get your GM, go get your coach, let him hire the coach and go from there? And if they do go VP of football operations, who's that guy?
I have to really do more research on who it would definitely be, but I would take an example of Belichick still wants to coach, so I wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't touch anyone who has any influence on the Dolphins organization for a number of years. I want someone with a little bit of experience in player personnel. So, for example, I would take a Bruce Arians if he wants to be up there. He mentioned head coach, but maybe he doesn't want to go on the sideline due to his age. I'm a massive fan of someone like a Tony Dungy. I need someone who's been a head coach, who's won a Super Bowl, who has success, who has connections throughout the league, who's willing to come out there and make a decision. I don't want to hear about Louis Riddick. I don't want to hear about that kind of nonsense. I want someone who has had success either at the head coaching level or the GM level, and I don't care who that is, as football operations. The only person who should be a rookie, who's young and who can help build this franchise for years to come, is the general manager. I want a veteran, former head coach or executive to be football operations who does not want to coach anymore, so they're past their prime of coaching. Like, I'll give you an example, Bobby. I would have hired Pete Carroll's now on the sidelines, but I like the mentality of a Pete Carroll at an executive level. I like that kind of mindset of a veteran person who knows the X's and O's, who can explain to Ross what to and not to do, right? Dan Marino wandering the sidelines, everyone taking pictures of him, is a good photo op, but it's proven to do nothing for us for years because he believes in Tua. Like that's how blinded he's become, Dan Marino. He believes in Tua because he's playing the company line, right? I don't think it works.
I think it's more playing the company line. I don't know how he really feels. I think just because he's part of the organization.
Yeah, John Elway won for a couple of years, but then there was a real drop. And when Sean Payton came in, he backed away and became president. He's not the GM anymore, right? So unless the head coach has control over player personnel, because that could also be the only way you would do it is if the GM is really doing what Bill Belichick type wants to do, or Bruce Arians. So unless you bring a super veteran head coach who can handle player personnel, maybe you don't need the VP of football ops because they can sort of handle both, mixing in with the general manager. But that, I think right now, Ross needs that really. And also, at one point, if we talk about 3-4 years from now, Ross is not going to be able to handle this on his own. He's going to give the team to his daughter. The daughter's going to need a real expert there. So you need to bring in someone who can sort of show them the ropes. So for me, I want any veteran out there who has been a successful head coach or successful general manager who's in his 50s, 60s, even early 70s, who can take hold of it, and literally take the control away from Ross. Say, Ross, watch the games, pay the bills, let me handle this. That's what we need.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I don't think Dan Marino is the answer. I think that's more like not disrespectful. Dan Marino is the face of Miami Dolphins.
100%. 100%.
But in that sense, and don't let this sound disrespectful, I feel like kind of what FinStanza said, Dan Marino is more like a mascot thing. Like it's like Dan's in the building so people feel better. I don't think he wants to get involved through that level of football and analytics and stuff like that. So I don't think he even wants to do it. And I don't think he has the background to do it, hononestly. He was a hell of a quarterback, but let's not get carried away. Just because you're an awesome quarterback don't mean you can build a brick wall. It's just they don't go hand in hand, So I don't know. And I also feel like this. There is situations where it worked. John Lynch, John Elway.
Yes.
That's a good that worked. But there's a lot more examples when it didn't work. And I remind you of Mike Tannenbaum. And I feel like if you need a VP, a GM, assistant, if you need all these guys, you never had the right guy anywhere in the first place. And I think that's what it really comes down to. I want, like I just said, I'll go back to it. I want the guy at GM who can act as a VP because he's convicted. So he don't need a guy holding his hand on both ends to approve everything he does and 6 people's opinion to get nowhere and no real opinion. So no, I think a VP of football ops is something you do when you think you got to babysit a guy. And I don't want that in the coach or the next GM. So my 100%. Answer at the end of the day would be no VP of football operations.
Love it. Yeah. Great answer. And FinStanza as well. Steve, you're
No, we don't need a VP. We don't need a guy, it's in charge of football operations. We need a solid GM, someone that's got, got some cojones that can stand up and make the decisions. We got a collective right now in this organization, right? That's the problem. We got too many freaking hands in the pot. One man needs to make the decision, and that's the general manager, right? And he goes right to the top, right to Ross or whoever it is. Once he's handed it down to his daughter, he goes up. It's Ross and the GM. That's it. And then a really good, solid, mature head coach, someone that's doesn't necessarily had to win a Super Bowl, but someone that has enough experience, and he's a disciplined coach. He held his players accountable. That's what we need. We need a good base to start off with, and then we can just build from there. But yeah, no guy with no football operations guy. We got too many hands in the pot right now, and that's one of the problems in this organization. Everybody's pointing fingers, at each other. Nobody wants to hold each other, one person accountable. Nobody wants to take the heat or the responsibility.
The only thing I want to add to that is because we're going to bring in a young hot shot, because we want to bring a new fresh voice and not a veteran, because of the fact that we want to redevelop. The reason why I want a VP of football up is because of the fact that will block Ross from unilaterally, because there's always this stuff. Was that a Ross decision, or was the Ross going out and going to get Jim Harbaugh or going to get Sean Payton or Tom Brady? It's like it's like basically someone who is so successful in business. How dumb can you be in football? Like, it's like you were successful in building buildings, but you can't manage your football team. It's really to babysit Ross, and really be that go-between. And I'm not asking for someone to be there for 5 years. I'm asking just for a transition period to let that GM not have Ross up his butt all the time, literally making these wacky decisions and making us all look bad. Because to this day, no one knows what goes on in the building. Was it a Flores decision? Greer's a yes man. Ross is the one who invited McDaniel. Was McDaniel a Ross hire or a Greer hire? Who wanted to give two of the contract? It's always, no one knows. But in Kansas City, it is Andy Reid. That in Philly, even at year-end, it is Harry Roseman, right? Like you know that. Like, it's all Belichick. You don't know who it is in Miami. It could be one of the three morons. It's either McMoron, McGreer, or McRoss. It's one of the two, one of the three. It's lost. You need that. You need that person to separate Ross from the football, because Ross involved in the football has made this team a mitigated disaster for 17 years.
Well, and the thing is they run this organization like a corporation, right? Well, I mean, it is a big business or corporation, but they don't run it like football operations is what I'm saying, right? They've got a committee of guys. They probably sit down at a table like a corporation, and they all making decisions. And oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good. No, you need somebody to step in and say, no, that's not going to work. It's going to work. This is the way it's going to be.
That's the VP of football.
I think
it could be the general manager too. It doesn't have to be the VP.
I think good points all around. I think great points all around. I think it depends on your, the coach and everything. If you want, I think I understand the point of what Evan's saying there too, is, you want that direct line of hierarchy, so you know exactly who to blame and where to go. Like, it's not who's the guy,
100%. I agree.
But I agree. All love and respect and everything. Dan Marino, we know who he is. Because I've had people tell me, Dan Marino, man, they should just give the reins to Dan Marino. And it's like, first of all, it's happened before. If I forget when it was, but he only was for a week, and then he stepped down. And again, there's no background to that, and I don't know if he really wants that on him. When the team fails, everybody looking at him now, saying, I think he's good where he's at.
Give you a little comparison, because Bobby made a good point before. Some people, just because they were stars in the sport, doesn't mean they're going to be good executives. I'm going to use it from a Canadian sport, which is hockey. Mario Lemieux, amazing hockey player, became an owner and managed a team, and they won cups. Wayne Gretzky, the so-called best hockey player to ever play, he went to be a head coach. He went to be an executive. The teams were disasters. Just because you're Michael Jordan as an executive, disaster, right? Like, disaster. Like, just because you're a star player doesn't mean you have the cahoots. Like, someone made a great point. Like, who I would hire if he retired tomorrow to be my executive? I'd hire Calais Campbell tomorrow. That is a guy who you see him in the Arizona game. He's 39 years old, and he looks like he would be the best defensive player on the Dolphins right now, screaming at his players. Like, that's someone who holds you accountable. That's a future general manager in this football, executive in football.
So I'm not against the idea, and Lou brought it up too. But Bill Parcells, even Bill Parcells couldn't turn this around. It was a one thing, and then it kind of went off the rails. So we know the flaws, we know the success of it. I'm not on the Dan Marino thing. I'm willing to entertain the Bill Belichick portion of it, but the only issue with that, and then you think about who's he going to bring on. Does he try to put on his son as head coach? You start to think of all that stuff. So it's but let's go ahead and a great talk on that and great debate so far. Bob, I'm going to start with you and then Evan and Steve on this. But Miami, let's say they go ahead to go coach, they had an interim coach, doesn't work out. What are you looking for in the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins? If Mike McDaniel's let go, we start doing this all over again. Here we go, bro. So you're like, man, okay, this is what I want. Is it a hot shot coordinator like a Joe Brady? Is it a former head coach like John Gruden? Is it a college coach? Like, where are you at for the next head coach of Dolphins if they have to make a change or they make a change?
Yeah, I want a guy that's been an NFL coach in the NFL, a head coach in the NFL. Sorry. And I'm looking, John Gruden's intriguing, but I'm looking at other things. I'm looking at teams that might make a terrible decision. Like, are the Ravens really going to fire John Harbaugh? Are they really fed up with John Harbaugh? I don't know. But I'm looking at that's why it's hard to predict these things. Cause if somebody like John Harbaugh is available, he goes to the top of your list. If the Steelers are really crazy enough to fire a Mike Tomlin, he goes to the top of your list. So we need to see who's there, but I definitely want somebody who's done it before. And I want a leader of men. So I don't care so much. It's cool if he also is, but I don't care if he's a offensive genius or a defensive genius. I want a leader of men who also can put his pride to the side and understand I need people around me to make the calls for the offense and the defense and help me out along the way. But I am a leader of men, and I know what winning looks like and what I need to see out of my team.
I love that. I think that's great. And someone delegating plays, hey, you're the offense. I'm the head coach, your offense, your defense, and go from there. Leader of men was huge. Leader of men was a huge point right there. Evan, what are you looking for the next head coach?
Someone who looks like Steve Molloy, looks like a leader of men, looks like a leader of men. By the way, you know what we could do? I just realized they could save a lot of money on stationery and a lot of things. They don't have to, if they hire Mike McCarthy tomorrow, they get the mic, they get the mic. They don't have to change much, right? They get a veteran head coach who's won a Super Bowl, and they don't have to change much. Mike, Mick, it works. No, has to be a veteran head coach. I don't care who it is. You guys want, I mentioned the joke about Mike McCarthy, but for example, won a Super Bowl, 600 winning percentage. He had to work under Jerry Jones, so he knows what he knows what it's like to work under a moronic owner. So he has that going for him. But no, for me, honestly, it has to be a veteran, not college. It has to be someone who's won a Super Bowl. Like I said, I don't care if you have to convince Tony Dungy to come back for a year or two, or I don't care if it's a John Gruden. I don't care if it's a Mike McCarthy. I want a successful. I didn't give Doug Peterson another shot. I want someone who's a successful head coach with a Super Bowl pedigree, who's potentially either played the game before or is a really successful tactician who also has been involved in player personnel potentially. That's what I want. Simple as that. Nothing else. I don't care who it is. I honestly will be happy if the person's won a Super Bowl, has a winning percentage as a head coach, and literally looks like a head coach and sort of looks like Steve Molloy.
Sort of looks like
don't you think? By the way, wouldn't you be intimidated? I swear.
Sort of? What does
Steve
sort
Molloy,
of look like?
Steve Molloy is deep down. It's like a little teddy. It's a teddy bear. But if you saw Steve Molloy as your gunnery sergeant, I'd be terrified. I'd be peeing down my leg. I want Steve Molloy.
Steve, you hear all that? What are you looking for the next head coach?
Well, it looks like I've been elected.
That's right. There you go.
I'd be scared. I wouldn't want to be coming back to the sideline with Steve Molloy staring at me.
No. I'm looking for the same thing. I'd like to see, you know, a veteran head coach. I don't care who it is, to be honest with you, and I really don't care if he's been, you know, a Super Bowl winner or whatnot. Just someone that is a leader of men, like Bobby said, and someone that can. Because the coach is not the only guy, right? He's not going to, you know, sure, he's the leader of men. He sets the tone. He kind of sets the culture of the team and everything. But in order to do that, he has to be able to delegate. So I want a coach that's able to delegate. I need this offensive coordinator. I need to, you know, with the same type of culture that he wants to build, you know, and that's what you need, is someone that can delegate and lead men. Yeah, and he doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's been very successful, right? Just a good, solid head coach that can get you going, get a good base started, get a good coaching staff, and then build from there.
Yeah. I'll say this too. Real quick.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Bobby. Pardon me, Bobby.
You're good, Bobby.
It's awesome saying that name, ain't it?
I know, right?
Next coach got to be named Bobby, clearly.
That's right, 100%.
No, but I'll say this. Mike McCarthy. Now, I don't think about Mike McCarthy when I think about our next coach. It doesn't excite me. But if you take the hat off for a second, it's like drafting an offensive lineman. It doesn't move the needle. It's not like you're not watching highlights all night. You're not like, this guy's blazing fast, but it makes the team better. And I think Mike McCarthy is one of those. It's like, we hire him. It's not going to like move the needle. People are not going to be ecstatic about it.
Right.
But it might be a good decision. Like, I'm not saying that he's my first choice. I'm just saying, when you really think about it, and you can't always get the perfect guy, you're not going to get, you know, John Harbaugh's don't fall off trees. But Mike McCarthy is not a terrible choice when you really look at it. And it could be a solid choice for the Dolphins come next offseason.
Especially if offense is still the strength, if you still got that talent there, minus what it Tua. I mean, but you know, McCarthy, again, a veteran head coach, you know, guy who's found success in this league, former Super Bowl champion. I know Aaron Rodgers, but still a Super Bowl champion coach. I mean, and like Evan brought up, played for the coach for the Cowboys, knows how it is with Jerry Jones. Stephen Ross is not Jerry Jones, but still. But Steve, what was your point?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to a Mike McCarthy. I mean, he's been successful, Super Bowl guy. You know, he's won 12 playoff. You know, he's got 12 playoff wins, 8 division titles. So yeah, sure, that would be great. He has all the accolades, right? If we can get him, sure, that's just you know, putting the cherry on the top, right? But again, just a coach that's has experience, someone that's, you know, maybe he has a playoff win or two, you know, but I think the Miami Dolphins just need some stability in this organization. You know, a coach that has stability, holds his players accountable, holds his coaches accountable, you know, holds himself accountable. That's what we need. And that's the base we need to start off with, you know, and if he works out, fine. If he doesn't, in 2 or 3 years, you know, maybe we got something to work with, right? Some type of blueprint that we can work off of.
And I'll go ahead, Evan.
I talked about this on Real Talk FinStanza. One of my oldest, closest friends is a Buccaneers fan, and we talk sports all day, every day. If you look at him, since we had Jimmy Johnson, and then after Wanstead, we have not had a veteran head coach. Over his 25 years, if you look at the last 25 years of his franchise, his success was John Gruden, Bruce Arians, and now Todd Bowles. Every other coach that was in between, with the Lovie Smith, was just an aberration. But all the other 3-4 coaches they had were disasters as rookie head coaches. All his success in his 25 years. And people thought, oh, the Jets, Todd Bowles, bad coach. Playing career, Super Bowl winner, second chance as a head coach, and he's done very well in Tampa. So for us, you want a former player or a guy who's been successful and has won a Super Bowl, either as a player or as a coach, who knows what it's like to be there. That's the difference in the end, and that's just look at the two franchises. It's completely different.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna get back to former head coaches, but you describe someone, and his name will come up when we get to former head coach. But without saying his name, but I want to say very quick, Bobby. There's a question in the comments there from Cap, and he said, "Who's really Robert?" I think he said, "Who's really Robert?" His brother, his name is Bobby. No Cap. LOL. For me, Robert is my government name. Nobody calls me Robert unless it's my mother. I'm in trouble, you know. But when somebody goes, Robert, or hey Robert, and I'm like, it's Bobby. First of all, like, don't do that.
I called you Robert, Robbie. I call you Robbie.
No, don't do that. But you know, But Bobby. So are you Bob? Are you Robert, or do you go? Is that your actual name? Is Robert?
No, so I'm actually the traditional type, Bobby.
There you go.
Straight Americano, Bobby.
There you go. See, there you go. So there you go. So that's Bobby.
Steve, let's ask Steve. Steve, are you straight Steve? Or are you Steven?
Steve.
There you go. There you go. All right. Now we got the important stuff out of the way. Let's get back into it here. So we all want, and I wanted this when we were going after, you know, when we were looking for the replacement to Adam Gase, and when we were looking for, before we hired Adam Gase, a veteran head coach. I want a guy. I don't, you know, but he failed at, like Todd Bowles. He failed at his last job. Look, he sucked at that job. I don't care. We need a guy who's been there and done that. Yeah, there's a reason why he's a free agent, unless it's a John Harbaugh who just, the team got sick of it and said to move on. Maybe if that's the case. But a lot of times the reason why they get fired is because they fail.
Bobby, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I got to get going.
Go ahead, bro. Enjoy your game. All right.
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you very much for allowing me to come on tonight, and I appreciate it. And Bobby, Shouse, nice to see you, brother. FinStanza, my brother, it's always nice to see you. Bobby, of course, thank you. You're the chief cook and bottle washer. You got me started in this gig on Real Talk Fins Talk, so I appreciate you giving me that platform.
Excuse me, I was the guy in the comments. Wasn't I the guy in the comments who says I need to meet Steve Molloy? We have to get him on a show. Look what happened.
Yeah, you're right. That's 100% right. You're correct. You're right.
And now he's fixing to be the Dolphins head coach.
There you go.
There you go. So, all right, guys. Hey, take care and God bless, man.
All right, Steve. Later, brother.
See you, brother.
All right. So, you know, for me, it's when you think of, for me, it's always been a veteran head coach. That's always what it's been. But, you know, you can't always get what you want. And we all said veteran head coaches. And so there's a lot of noise out there for hotshot coordinators. And that happened with Miami. I mean, they got Adam Gase, the offensive guru. You know, look what he did with Denver with Peyton Manning. And then it was Mike McDaniel, who didn't really have it, you know, who didn't, you know, you liked what was going on in San Francisco, but he was a run game coordinator. He was a one season as offensive coordinator. But really, that was Kyle Shanahan calling those plays. But they did that. And so far, it hasn't worked. But you still get that noise. You still get those names out there, hot shot coordinators. And Joe Brady's one. And Bobby, you said this earlier, we got to hire a Bobby, maybe a Bobby head coach. And there's Bobby, and I'm going to butcher the last name, but that's okay. I think we like it. Bobby Babich, right? Or, you know, I think that's how you say it. It sounds like bad bitch, but it's Babich. And so that's actually a pretty good name, you know. But, you know, and then you talk about the Ravens. You said John Harbaugh. Evan says winning organizations or stable organizations. You think of the Baltimore Ravens. Well, another coordinator who has been a coach, he's interviewed for it before, high on John Harbaugh's high on him, and that's Todd Mankin. So, you know, if there was a coordinator, is there one out there that you would go, you know, I may, not asking you, stop it over there. Is there, Bobby, anyone that you might go, I might consider him?
We'd have to see when the time comes. I think he failed poorly last time, but I think Joe Brady's intriguing. Just because we've seen how aggressive he went to making the Bills a run-first team, even with Josh Allen, and how much it benefited Josh Allen. But it's just so many questions with it, right? So, it's still the question marks. Like, who does he bring with him as defensive coordinator? Does it become Mike McDaniel all over again, where he's calling the plays and he's overwhelmed and he's got too much on his plate? So, ideally, I don't want to go with the coordinator again. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hot names come the time we do it. You know, we always fall in love with them, you know, but in a vacuum, they are enticing because you'll see a Josh Allen-led offense looking amazing, which it should. But we also seen a Josh Allen-led offense with Ken Dorsey that did not look amazing. So here we go again.
Oh, gosh.
Only Flo.
That's the only coordinator I'd bring back.
He's trying to start.
That's a former head coach.
Former head coach, successful, hot truck coordinator, doing amazing defense in Minnesota.
For the record, I don't know if you might be being serious. You might be having fun, but we are currently still in a lawsuit with Brian Flores.
That's how you settle. But that's how you settle wrongful termination suits. You settle. You say, "I'm sorry. I fire McDaniel. I bring back Flo. shake hands and get over and move on with your life. That's how you settle a lawsuit.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how they think about it. I really don't care about the first round pick or the money they lost or being stuck with Chris Greer now because he has all the skeletons in the
He
closet.
was more entertaining to me.
Nah, hey,
All right, Evan, go ahead.
There's no hot shot. No, if someone has the job coordinator prior to becoming this head coach, unless they're a former head coach, I don't want to know about hot shot coordinators. We've tried that. We've done that with Saban was a head coach, but it was different there. But then Sperano was a coordinator. Philbin was the hot shot coordinator with Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Turned out it wasn't him. Then it was Adam Gase. Then it was Brian Flores. He was the one who won the Super Bowls, not Bill Belichick. Now it's Mike McDaniel. No more hot shot coordinators. No shiny toys. They become broken toys. You bring in someone where when the person walks into the room, you stand up and you salute.
I like Lou's idea that he could see Ross going with Coach ChatGPT next.
There you go.
Remember the anonymous general manager? Remember when in the WWE we had the anonymous general manager? Raw?
Yeah, it was back in the day.
And Michael Cole used to go on the podium. This is the announcement from the Raw general manager.
So I'll just say, I'm with you. Unless it's a former player, that's where I would be intrigued to listen to. Todd Mankin might be the only one.
There's only one guy.
Okay, hold on a second. You had your second. You brought up WWE. You lost your second. You got to wait a minute before let me get this point out. Okay, Mr. Anonymous.
Last night, they were awful last night.
Let me just say, the only one guy that I would really be intrigued, unless he's a former player, because I'm willing to listen to that because we've seen the success of that, would be Todd Mankin. Because what he's a old school type of guy. I mean, you see what he's done with the Baltimore Ravens offense. You've seen what he's done. I think he's a guy who, he's learned from John Harbaugh. He's been a part of a regular organization. He'd be the only one. I'm with you guys though. With Joe Brady, and I'm not interested in that. That's another hotshot coordinator type of guy. Not interested at all of that. And unless he is a former player, that's Todd Mankin's the only guy that I'd be interested in discussing in regards of a coordinator. But go ahead, Evan.
The only thing I would do, which is going to be the talk, I'm sure people with hotshot coaches and coordinators, because it's the Miami way, because if you're a fan of the U, you're going to do it. The one thing I would do in the next administration, a couple of years, if he's actually interested, not to ever make him a head coach. He's 5 years away probably from becoming a head coach. Whoever becomes a head coach, they should go watch how Jason Taylor coaches that D-line. And when he's ready to come to Miami to be a defensive line coach for Miami, future defensive coordinator, and
I thought about that recently, man.
Coach, that's what you do. You want to develop a head coach internally, you go get Jason Taylor, who is beloved by this franchise, who literally didn't come to Miami and say, give me a job. He went down to Miami, the University of Miami, and started from the ground up, a Hall of Famer, the ground up, and is coaching that D-line. And go watch how he handles his D-line in Miami. They're no joke. And that is all Jason Taylor. That's what you do with developing the future head coach of the Dolphins for 5 years from now. Go get Jason Taylor. But you bring in the veteran now.
What?
I thought about that recently, and first off, I think he was the head coach at St. Thomas, which is in South Florida, and then he was hired as a defensive assistant or something
on that sideline.
But look what he's done on the shout out to Jason Taylor. He's my favorite Dolphin. Ruben Bain could be the first overall pick. I mean, that's a guy like, if Miami's in that top 5 and somehow, some way, Ruben Bain is sitting there, that's not. I'd hop on that, especially with what's going on. But that's another topic for another day. Anyway, but no, great point to bring up Jason Taylor. Bobby, did you have a counterpoint?
Oh no, not really. I'm at the point of the show where I'm looking at the chat and it's starting to unwind a little bit. It's funny. Somebody said that McDaniel is ChatGPT fucking up, and I think no, McDaniel's probably more like Grok.
I love that. He's more like Grok. No, I think you're right on. So we talked about it. We all prefer that former head coach, right? I mean, and Evan brought up, you brought up Mike McCarthy. And again, I'm not against any former head coach. I know I see Nick Saban in there. Let's time out on that. I see Brian Flores. That ain't happening. So let's be realistic when we talk about it. I'm not against any former head coach. And by against, I mean, hearing it out. You bring up a name, I make inside cringe, but I'm going to listen to it because he's a former coach. I mean, you could go with Matt Nagy there. You think of John Gruden or Belichick, and you hear all these Kiff Kingsbury. But Evan, you brought up a name earlier, or you didn't bring up a name, but you were saying former player, championship pedigree, success. Won a Super Bowl as a player. Maybe he's won a Super Bowl as a coach, but he didn't. That's why. But what I hear, and this is a name, and again, I don't know if he would because I think health, but he's current GM, I think, of UCLA, because that's where it's going now. Ron Rivera. That's another former head coach, former coach of the year, I think 2-time coach of the year, a player, a hard ass, a guy who's going to delegate the offense and defensive tasks, a guy that could probably, lay the foundation. He's had success in this league. We know where he's fallen off. He was in the middle of a Commanders organization that was in the middle of a fire sale, and it was all whatever. But you were bringing up all those things, and I'm looking at it. I'm going, that's Ron Rivera. So, yeah, that's one of these veteran coaches that I would absolutely be intrigued with. I know Dave Staver probably go, he sucks, but I wouldn't mind a Ron Rivera. Would you?
I want, like I said, Matt Nagy was not successful as a head coach. He's a former head coach, but he didn't do much. I want someone with a pedigree, and that's what because Ross likes the shiny toys, right? Like someone who's gone to Super Bowl. Matt Nagy's been behind Andy Reid, and he was kicked. They couldn't wait to get rid of him in Chicago. But no, whether it's Ron Rivera, Mike McCarthy, John Gruden, Bruce Arians, I don't care who. I don't care. I just don't care. Just bring someone who literally does not have the play. That literally is not focused on the play call sheet. Yes, Mike McCarthy holds it, but he holds you accountable. I just want somebody who has that sense of leadership, like Bobby said, a leader of men. That's what Anthony Weaver looks like. But in the end, I just want someone who literally gives you that sense that you want to know what? I'm only here to win. I'm only here to take games. Also, if you bring in a veteran head coach, more players are going to probably want to come play for that veteran head coach, and you might be able to reset a little bit faster. Because I don't think we all would be able to suffer through a 4-year rebuild again.
I think something I like to think about when I talk about these or think about these former head coaches, I think it's very important. It's like the Raiders hired Pete Carroll this offseason, and while I thought it was a great hire, it's like, let's say he figures it out. You got 5 years of Pete Carroll. You know what I mean? So and look, this is wishful thinking in Miami because these guys don't even work or last. So maybe age really doesn't matter. But like John Gruden, McCarthy is probably the max age I'd want to go because let's say you do get the right guy and he figures it out. I'd love, I think we all would, a 15-year stretch with the same guy. So I don't want to go too old. I think you can't have a 30-year-old and you can't have a 70-year-old. The guy needs to be seasoned enough, but I don't want a guy that even if it works, it only works for 5 years, 10 years. I would love the situation where you get a Gruden, McCarthy, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, even these guys in their 50s that you can get if it went right. Worst, best case scenario, you could get 20, 30 years out of these guys, but I know that's obviously wishful thinking. I don't want to go into it knowing already that you're not going to get 20 years out of this guy, 15 years out of this guy, even if it worked.
I don't agree with Cap because we've had consistency for 20 years in the front office, and look what that got us.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of variables that go into it.
But
I
I'm
don't throw
okay
that
with,
into the
for
mix.
example, let's say you brought in a Bruce Arians, just an example, or you brought in and you know that person maybe has a shelf life of 5 years, and you're developing a Jason Taylor, or that's what will sort of work with Bruce Arians is they sort of had Todd Bowles coming. They brought another guy in. As long as you have the succession plan there, you need someone to right the ship and give you credibility. Miami Dolphins are a laughing stock. Like I have a banner, my back of my license plate, because we can't have one in the front where I live, is the Miami Dolphins plate. I get laughed at. That's the thing. Miami Dolphins are always a topic of conversation no matter where you go right now. It doesn't matter because we're in the media, but for the wrong reason. but it's laughable. Like we're a laughing stock. we're at the level of the Miami Marlins. Like we're at that level.
Wait
like
a second. No.
Whoa.
Miami
Bobby,
Marlins.
Bobby,
give them
you,
respect.
Bobby,
Dude. They were in the
Bobby,
hunt.
Bobby,
Okay, don't do that.
Marlins, don't
do
insult the
that.
Marlins, right? They're almost in the playoffs. By the way, I'm going to repeat this again. Monday Night Football, rival uniforms. Uniforms. Monday Night Football, it will cost you less.
Yeah, I know.
Into the building
Can I tell you? Can I break some news? Well, because I know that. I saw it. First, no, it's not. It was $30. I looked it up.
$18 Canadian. Would you like me to send you the link?
We're not in Canada, bro. This is USA, man. We ain't talking about no Canadian bacon. Stop it with Canada.
$13, Bobby. Go look.
Your currency is there. You know, come on, like
$13 US. $13 US to get into the game.
All right, but it was $30-some, and I know because Mom
13.
and Tabitha, they're going to go to see Monday Night Football because the tickets are low and they're going to out. So I know.
I'm sending you the link right now.
Please don't. I believe you. But no. So look. I love all the points, and I think we're all on the same boat with veteran head coaches. Evan, you brought up a good one with Matt Nagy. You know, he failed. You know, that's not the type of veteran coach you're thinking about. I think that's okay. I think that's fair. Doug Peterson is a guy that I would absolutely be okay with. That's a guy, I know what happened in Jacksonville, but that's, again, I would still consider him championship, former player, been there, done that. A coach that I don't think he's a former player, but a guy who I think he was a coach. It didn't work out. But he's been a coordinator for a while now and part of a championship organization. Winning organization. I mean, you look at the team, you think that his offense on the team, he coaches the defense, but you think his offense probably the strength, when really the defense is the one that helped them kind of go, which is the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo is a guy that I would not be against. Go ahead, Bobby.
That's a great name, but that's my point, though. You get Spagnuolo, and he figures it out, and you just know that you don't have long. And that's a perfect I love Spagnuolo, and I agree. I think he's the underdog. He's the most underrated coach in all of football. What he does for the Chiefs and what he allows them to do, they win so many 23-17, 20-17 games, and people are like, Andy Reid is so amazing. And don't get me wrong, he is.
He is, Andy Reid.
You only win 20-17 games if the defense holds the other team to 17. It's like people think it's so impressive the Chiefs are winning all these close games. Like it's their pedigree, it's just culture. It's like, no, it's their defense. It's their defense. That's not 100%. A compliment to Mahomes when you win 2017. So I think he's an awesome coach. But once again, it's one of those things where and I think this is why he isn't getting head coaching jobs. He's kind of to the point where he's a glorified DC, and he knows he's not going to get a fresh slate due to his age, due to the point of his career.
How old is he? Now that's a great point. How old is Spagnuolo? But I'll just say this. A guy, again, Spagnuolo, who's been there, he's coached before, he's been a head coach before, he had the experience as a coordinator, coached, fired. Now he's been under 65 years old. So he's not crazy old, but again, he is. But again, learning from one of the best coaches in football, Andy Reid, been there under that arm. It also probably side by side with him running this team. This is a guy who could get that experience. Be the Dolphin, become be a head coach, and then he's going to go. Guess what he's going to do? He's going to hire his own general manager. He's going to get a guy who he probably go within the Chiefs organization, get a guy, and then that's what they're going. Exactly. So that's a guy it's not Matt Nagy, but I think it's a better option than Matt Nagy. That's a guy. This is a type of whatever. My knee, right? My knee. I was thinking about Greg for a second because Steve. But no, sorry, I butcher names. It's what it is. But Spagnuolo is a guy I absolutely would consider. And then just to finally, again, we talked about coordinators, not really, former head coach, a former player would be great. But if we're going to talk about a guy who's never coached, and there it is, there's Bobby as the coach.
Bobby's older brother?
Let me just tell you something. First of all, let me just tell you something. Hank Fraley. Okay, so if you're going to go with a rookie coach, to me, you got to go with a former player. I mean, you think about what DeMarco Ryans did with his first season and what he's been able to do. And
not DeMarco, D'Amico.
Shut up for a second. You know who I'm talking about. Just let me get through it.
No, I don't. I don't know who DeMarco is.
Anyway, so you got D'Amico Ryans, you got Vrabel, just whatever.
By the way, I can add myself back, eh?
Yeah, but you didn't. So, to me, a former player would be the guy that would be a coordinate, would be a coach that I would be looking for. And, you think of let me make sure here. You got Hank Fraley from Detroit, Jared Mayo, Antonio Pierce, Frank Reach, who's also a former head coach, Zach Orr. These are guys, Mike Kafka, former quarterback. He's part of the Giants. I think he's the Giants offensive coordinator. Josh McCown. These are guys that I would not be against talking about because they are former players. Former players, I know how to talk to players. They know how to, Evan says he wants guys. They exactly, and they know how, but they could get in your face, Bobby. They're not afraid to. Hey man, I've been in here with you. It's hard. It's hard for me. And you go, oh, but he's the third string quarterback. Who cares? Or a second. Still, if you're thinking about McCown and Kafka, but they're still former players. And let me tell you something. Again, first off, Hank Fraley. I make jokes, but I'm serious about this guy. This is a guy that I would consider. He was the offensive line coach. He is still the offensive line coach for Detroit, but he's also now the run game coordinator. Teams wanted to hire him as the offensive coordinator. Detroit's like, we're not losing you. We're losing too much. We can't lose you. His players love him. They're like, dude, we will do anything. We'll leak stuff into the press. We'll throw stuff. We can't lose you. Panay Sol, Glasgow, their center. They love this guy. And when you hear him talk, I hear a head coach. I hear a future head coach. And all jokes aside, I hear Bobby when I hear him talk. I'm like, damn, that's Bobby from Dive Bar, dude. I'm sure. But this is a guy that I would consider, again, because these are guys that know how to get on the same level as a player. He has experience showing what he can do with these guys and bringing up the success. So these are the only type of guys, rookie coaches, that I would consider. And again, I bring up some names there, and so Evan, I'll go with you on this first one here with former players. Is there any former player rookie coach out there that you would be intrigued by at all? No, not at all.
I want someone who's been there before. I am tired of the new toy.
But we haven't had the veteran. We haven't had the rookie coach.
I don't want a rookie former player. I don't want a rookie former. I don't want rookie. I want veteran. I want someone who's.
I'm saying it doesn't matter what you want, because we're just this is so. If Miami High was going to go for a rookie coach, who would it be?
I have my clicker. I can say what I want, and my answer
this is a good time to remind him he lives in Canada.
That's
he's getting cocky. Knock him down.
I know a former player would be someone who we develop internally. I don't want to go get someone else's development because it's a different mindset. I want someone to develop under a veteran. So you want to go get your Hank Fraley, go get your Jason Taylor and develop him. That's what I want. I want the next development head coach, former player to learn. Like maybe Welker would have been that guy if he was interested in being a head coach. I want a player who's learning from the veteran head coach internally within your organization, so you have a succession plan for years to come, not someone else's toy. I don't want that.
Now, what you can do, and Bobby, I'll get right to you, and you go ahead and. But I'll just say what you can do, Evan, is like if you go get like for instance, we talk about Spagnuolo. If you get a Spags or like an older coach, like a Rivera, for instance, let's say that Bobby was like, man, I just want a guy with consistency, or a little, the kind of last. That's when you go, okay, well, if you go this older coach who's a former veteran coach, and then you hire maybe the Hank Fraley as your OC, then you could groom him to be that replacement. That could possibly be a situation. But Bobby, is there any coaches, coordinators out there that are former players that you're intrigued by at all? That you'd be like, man, that's a guy that I wouldn't mind talking about.
Let me look at this up real quick and make sure I know what I'm talking about here.
All good.
Oh, on this network, we don't usually know what we're talking about.
I do homework, brother. I got loads of info.
That's the thing. Bobby needs to do research. Everything comes out of his head.
Yeah, I do that for the most part too. I just wanted to see. For the sake of the exercise, the Lions coach is intriguing. Like I said, there's going to be people when it comes time that are intriguing. He's intriguing because the Lions, he checks a lot of boxes. When it comes to these guys that haven't been a head coach, you just got to look at the boxes. What does he check for us? Knows offensive line, maybe the best offensive line in football, or one of them.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, this is the rare conundrum that the Lions have. It must be nice. They are a physical team with also probably the most creative offense in football. So he's been around Ben Johnson. He's been under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson leaves. They're still just as creative. They just ran the this is when I realized some teams are just different. They ran the Laporta in motion handoff to freaking the receiver pitch option with the freaking running back for a touchdown last week. And I went, holy shit, Ben Johnson's gone and nothing fell off for them. So he knows the blueprint. The blueprint is clearly established in Detroit. Also, earlier when I was building my image of what I expected, a leader of men. I mean, look, this guy, I wish I could look this awesome. This guy is who you want on your sidelines. You to show up 30 minutes late, this motherfucker smack the shit out of you. This guy will open palm, smack you back to Canada. Okay? This guy is no joke. This guy is going to spit dip on your shoes while chewing your ass. So, look, for the sake of the exercise, and sorry, I got a little graphic there, but I get excited. This guy gets you excited. I'm going out there. I'm putting it on the line for this guy. That's all I'm saying. Another one. Now, they have fell off. They've had up and downs. Shout out to Finn's in the house. Hopefully I get to see you next weekend at the Carolina game, by the way. Hope to meet you, brother. You got on the other side of the ball, Kelvin Shepard, former Dolphin, LSU Tiger, has that defense playing pretty good for the Lions. That's a decent, intriguing name. Go. Also, Al Harris, defensive cornerbacks coach for the Bears. That dude's got energy out there. He's running around. He's coming off the sidelines. That's people you can think about. Now, do I think they're ready? I don't think Shepard's ready. I think Shepard needs to cook. I think he does need a little time, but he's right. He looks impressive in press conferences. He's saying all the right things. He's out there. They got to pull him off the sidelines. He's getting too excited. He's 3 yards onto the field. I like what Shepard's doing there, but that goes to say, it's just, and maybe this is just all compliments to Dan Campbell because that's just more people within his staff. It's just like they got it figured out. And when you have the infrastructure right and you have the leader of men, also, yeah, somebody brought it up earlier, this going back one segment, but Cliff Kingsbury is a interesting idea for a former head coach because he's kind of like a redemption arc right now, right? He built like the best offense for a rookie ever with
Kyler Murray.
No, the Jaden Daniels last year.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
With Washington. So like he's getting some good experience under Dan Quinn, who Dan Quinn definitely fits the archetype type I like. So I'm not saying he's our guy, and it probably ends up being the McDaniels all over again, but Cliff Kingsbury has got to be a hot name this offseason, especially if Jaden Daniels has another great season, which right now he's banged up, which is kind of weird. But Cliff Kingsbury had a redemption arc from hell last year with a rookie quarterback. I mean, they were humming.
I will just say I'm more hyped on Hank Fraley than I was before, and that's because of Bobby. I just love that he like ran right with it, spit on you as he chewed your ass. I'm like, whoa, never.
But every time we get hyped about someone, they end up disappointing us. It's all good.
And I'll say that, like, we all make fun of the idea that we are the only team that interviewed Mike McDaniel, but you have to kind of get ahead of things. When we did that, I was like, finally, we found the diamond in the rough. A lot of people around, like, look, it hasn't worked out for us. I'm not saying like what I'm saying is the Bible, but a lot of people knew Mike McDaniel was the worst kept secret in football. A lot of people thought he was actually doing all the hard work and the legwork. He was locking himself in a dark room and coming up with all these master plans for Shanahan and making him look great. A lot of people knew about this. It wasn't like he was just some like, oh, let's go get the only guy that would take this job right now. Now, it didn't work. I'm just saying, you got a good point, FinStanza. I thought it was awesome when we went and got McDaniel. I thought he was the perfect guy. I wanted him to be our OC when we tried to go interview him and they blocked us for Flores, actually. That could have been quite the combo, actually. No one talks about that anymore. We almost had Flores and McDaniel if they didn't block us from interviewing McDaniel as our OC the year prior.
Yeah. McDaniel could have been our offensive coordinator, but Brian Flores was trying to interview him. No, this has been, first off, an awesome topic and a great show. A lot more interesting than I really thought it would be. And I think, because there are a lot of names thrown out there, and I love the passion from the base in the comments and everyone who's tuning in right now and interacting. We appreciate you guys watching right now. You're watching Fitz Talk today here on FTSN. Steve Molloy was with us. He stepped off to watch his grandson play some baseball, which is awesome. Yeah, Bobby the Dive Bar, and of course FinStanza in the house. So Monday Night Football, Dolphins versus Jets at home at Hard Rock. Both teams 0-3. Evan, you'll be on pregame. Bobby, any plans for the dive bar? You guys going to be live to talk about the game? Will you guys be live during the game?
No, not during the game. Tuesday night we'll definitely be there. We have a couple things in the works. We're always live Tuesday at 7. We actually have it's not official yet. We actually have something in the works. Not a guest news, but like a big news. We're actually got to get some T's crossed and I's dotted, but we got some big news coming down the pipeline soon. We're really excited about it. There's going to be a lot more dive bar around. Let's just say that there's going to be we're growing.
You're getting there. Awesome. I love it, bro. I love it. Well, look out for that. Should people expect that to drop on Tuesday live on the show?
Yeah, I guess we could probably start talking about it Tuesday. If we have a guest, it probably won't come up, but if we don't have a guest, that's the other issue. Since we found out about this, which it's still in the works, it's not official. Since we found out about it though, we haven't had a solo show. So I'm sure we'll hint at it. We love dropping Easter eggs and hyping stuff up and getting ahead of it, but we got some exciting stuff. If you follow us and you know some of the things we've done recently, then you probably can put it together. But we're really excited about it. It's going to take our, stuff to the next level, hopefully, and get some good production and some post-production going on.
Awesome. So guys, I doubt it, but if there's anybody watching who has not yet gone over to the Dive Bar Podcast on YouTube and hit that subscription button, go do it after the show right there. There's the logo. Can't miss it. You've probably seen that hat being worn somewhere on the highway, no matter where you are in the continental United States, maybe even some parts of Canada.
We have shipped to Canada.
There you go. There you go.
I don't know the math on the dollars, but we have shipped to Canada. I know one thing. We've shipped a few hats to Canada, and I'll tell you this: we lose money when we ship to Canada. It cost us a shit ton to ship to Canada.
So, if you haven't yet, go.
Because he has to reach out to FinStanza, we'll help him out. But I'm forgotten all the time.
It must be those tariffs that's killing
us.
us.
No, I have really good rates, actually. I have the best shipping rates in Canada. I'm amazing with that. I import a lot from outside of everywhere, so I'm very good with that stuff.
There you go. Awesome. There you go. But no, man. Evan, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Monday night, I will be watching. I'll be at the pregame. I'll be at the post, but I won't be. I'll be watching on my phone while I play a playoff game. So I'll be multitasking, but I'll be there. I'm just very excited because every day the Dolphins play football. Every single week, we're one day closer to ridding ourselves of that McMoron. I'm just like every day. I go. I don't care when it happens, but we're getting closer. It's as we get close. Every time we play football, I look forward to the moment where we fire that tweet. I just can't wait. It's going to be, honestly, Christmas can't come early enough for me. It really can't come early enough.
And I'll say, all jokes aside, we've talked about it. We kind of covered the current status of the Dolphins at the beginning. Yeah. Look, if we keep losing, obviously, and that's the other thing. People are like, I get tired of the negativity. It's like, look, man, we have to talk about what's put in front of us. And right now, it's shit. Unfortunately, if you're going to be objective and be real, we're not doing you a service if we lie to you. So right now, that is the topic. Now, the Dolphins want to turn it around and start reeling off some wins. We can say what we want, guys. We'll be in here hype as shit if the Dolphins win 4 straight. So, look, if they lose, they definitely deserve to be fired. I also agree with that. But if the Dolphins go and reel off 4 straight wins, we'll all be in here giddy, ear to ear. Maybe FinStanza, maybe not. But
no, let me just say, Bobby, we can be excited. Watch. Let's say they beat the Jets.
Yeah,
exciting. You're at the Carolina game.
Exactly.
Carolina. Do you understand there are going to be more Herbert jerseys at Hard Rock than there will be Tua jerseys. The level of pressure on Tua to face the Chargers coming in the way the Chargers are playing with Jim Harbaugh, it's going to bring you back down to earth faster than you can even count. Because I'll give you this as a stat. We said this week. Last week, Tua, where we complain about the offensive line, was pressured 8 times, got touched once. Herbert was hit 15 times. He was hit 14 more times than Tua, and look what he did in that game. So you want to know what? It's an A versus a B team. There's one team that is going up because they changed their head coach, changed their entire mindset with Jim Harbaugh, got rid of the mindset of their former coach. We're still with the former coach, and that's why they're at a different level right now. We're a B League team, and that's an A League team coming in 3 weeks with the pressure, because even though Bobby rolls his head, no matter what people say that week, and no matter what the media is all going to be talking about, Tua versus Herbert, Tua versus Herbert, Tua versus Herbert. It's all people are going to be talking about. And all the fans who are anti-Tua-neers are all going to be saying, see, that's the quarterback we should have had, because look where he is now, 6 years versus Tua. So even if we give that happiness for 2 weeks, it's going to come right back down to earth in week 6.
Yeah, of course. And we're not playing the games, and we can't control the outcomes of these things. I'm just saying, for people that think we want to, or I'll speak for myself. I'll speak for the dive bar. We have a better show, and we do better numbers, and we would love to get on every week and talk about how we just beat the shit out of somebody. Unfortunately, the Dolphins haven't given us that. Will I take it? I'd gladly take us turning it around. But I'm also, if they play like shit, I'm going to say it was shit. And if they start losing these games, you have to have these hard conversations. I wish we weren't talking about this. I wish we were talking about how the Dolphins just came off their first win in Buffalo in 10 years. But that is not what's in front of us. And that's just reality.
Am I rooting us to lose, or do I expect us to lose? There's a difference. Daniel cannot watch my shows I want. I walk around with more Dolphins paraphernalia than you can even imagine, Daniel. I come on these shows. You hide in the comments. I brag about this team no matter what.
Here we go.
No matter what, I will always cheer for this team. No matter what. I want them to win every single football game. The problem is I used to get myself hyped up. Then I came on these shows, was completely saddened by it, and was completely destroyed by it. Now I'm realizing where the root of the problem is, and I just want that root. If they win and they prove me wrong, I'll be the first one to admit I'm wrong. I never want them to lose. The difference is I used to expect them to win, and then I was disappointed. So now I don't expect them to win. I don't expect them to lose. But in the end, they end up disappointing me either way. The difference is that I don't have that insane positive attitude that they're going to go out, because what have they shown me that's proving to me that I should be all gung-ho, yay, yay, woo-woo, that they're going to win? There isn't. They have not shown that to me. I want them to win every game, but it's sort of like you're going in with one high tide behind your back because they're not doing anything to improve themselves. They'd be tired of my negativity.
And the heartbreak might be inevitable. That's why I'm saying we all want the same, and we're all going to be heartbroken the same. So
thank you, Ray.
No reason for the nonsense, you know.
Well, what? Be tired of me. I don't care. What's that going to change in my life? I'm not going to sleep tonight, guys. He's mad at me. I'm not sleeping.
First off, I'm grateful for everyone. He's suspended. Yeah. Shout out though to Daniel, to everyone, Mudbone and Ray, and everyone commenting, Lou, everyone who joined in today in the comments, whether good, bad, ugly, whatever. Appreciate you all watching, and it's been nothing but a blast. We all appreciate you. This has been a fun conversation. Hopefully, again, as Bobby's brought up, yes. What if Miami wins? They beat the Jets, and then they beat Carolina, and then they got the momentum on their side, and now they're 4-3. It's a different conversation. Now you're saying, holy crap, wait a second, McDaniel's turned his team around. Wait a second, could there actually? Somebody brought it up last week. Miami usually starts strong and on the low end. Now Miami's starting slow. Maybe they have a fast rise. Maybe, just maybe. But we're 0-3. This conversation is being had at Homes. It's being had at the bar. It's being had at the dive bar. It's being had in FTSN. It's being had everywhere. Everyone's asking or talking about, like, hey, man, is it the coach? Do we need to fire the coach? Do we need to bench the QB? You don't want to have these conversations. Any fans want to have their franchise quarterback. We want to be able to say, man, we got our guy. Man, we have our coach. Man, we're freaking good right now. Even when you're losing, when your team is having a bad year, you're like, hey, man, at least we have our quarterback. At least we're good on that. We don't know if we do. Man, at least we have our head coach. We don't know if we do. So these conversations have to be had. It sucks. It's the reality of it. When this topic, it's not to be negative. Daniel's one of the most loyal viewers I've had since I've started. How many years ago and whatever
not
now?
Anymore.
But he is. But and so is Scotty and whatnot. But this is not a negative show, or this is not a negative topic. It's the reality of it. If the Dolphins continue to lose, losing the Buffalo game, Bobby brought up earlier, the Buffalo game, even though we lost, there were some things that you go, damn, okay, wait, they showed up. But they didn't show up against New England. Nobody expected them to lose against Indy. That's a problem. You're 0-3. And then if you lose against the Jets or you lose against the Carolina Panthers, then this is more reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Bobby,
what, Evan?
Bobby, there have been 3 games, 3 predictions on this network. The people have predicted.
Because you're rooting for them to lose.
No,
bro.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
You know,
When you go into a game with the game plan of Mike McDaniel, you're not winning football games. It's not a winning mentality the way he coaches. It goes back to last season. That's not wanting them to lose. I don't ever want them to lose. I literally have decals all over my belt. Look behind me. The amount of merch, Bobby, I've bought physically with you in the last year alone. It's not about that. It's the fact that they have done nothing to prove me wrong. So rip on Brett, rip on Greg, rip on Steve, all of us. We all want them to win. The difference is that I look at the writing is on the wall on how they play football. You can see it. I watch the all-22s. I watch the way they play. It's not a winning formula for this NFL. Look at the Baltimore. Baltimore's doing everything they can, and they can't pick up wins. Now you expect the Miami Dolphins to pick up wins the way Mike McDaniel's calling football games? No.
There you go. All right. So before we officially wrap off, Bobby, any final thoughts, brother?
No, it's just, we're all in this together. Like I said, my crazy ass just booked a plane ticket yesterday to fly to North Carolina to go home and spend a weekend with my dad and hopefully meet some awesome people like Finn's in the house. So look, regardless of what happens, we're Dolphin fans. We're all in on this team. Nothing's ever going to change. We'll be crying here in 2 years, or we'll be happy in 2 years. It doesn't matter. We'll be here in 2 years. So, and as far as that goes, people like Daniel are awesome because look, he's pissed off, but guess where he's supporting your channel still. So,
not me.
No, he's here though. Like that, it's still,
100%.
Those people allow us to have platforms, and he can bitch. That's his right. Just like we get on some weeks and bitch, sometimes we get on and say sell hopium. That's nonsense. Like the idea that the idea that we normally get our winning out of the way early, so this is going to be different. That's selling opium. I don't know if that becomes reality, awesome. But
great.
That really is the ultimate spin zone.
I've heard it. I'm only saying what I hear.
Could be the case. I'd much rather. That's the thing. I'd much rather lose early than lose late, like we always do. But
yeah, absolutely. Evan, final thoughts.
I don't play to win. I don't play to lose. I win not to lose, and I lose not to win.
You play to win the game.
No, I don't understand what I just said, which is what my head coach does to me every single week. I do not know what the heck the man is talking about.
Well, the good news is we don't have to predict it much longer. We're gonna, we'll know. It's all opening up right before your eyes. It's getting obvious, and I think the fan base is starting to realize, and eyes are opening, and everyone will know exactly what's going on.
There you go. I love it. Great points. Well, first off, shout out everyone again for watching. We appreciate you all. Whether you love them or hate them or whatever, we thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe. And most importantly, Dolphin fans, as always, make sure you fins up. We'll see you all next time.